Wish We Could Turn Back Time by Girlinpink44. Chapter 7. Another Visitor. At first, he missed that there was anyone in the office because it appeared empty. But then, he noticed that his chair was turned to face the window.
Hello?
The chair turned sideways, and a boy who was around Peter's age spilled out of it.
Mechanic? Harley?
Tony ran across the room and kneeled down next to the boy.
What on earth are you doing here? How did you get here? You're like 6.
Almost 7, if we get technical. I was an adult before you did whatever this is. His determined look definitely lost some of its edge, considering he still had some of his baby fat and was missing a tooth. Tony scooped the kid up into a hug.
I missed you.
What happened? The kid seemed to soak in the attention, not something he often did when he was older. Tony got in a more comfortable position, taking Harley off to the couch and sitting them both down but not letting the boy go. We were gone. For 5 years, I think, I heard. And then suddenly everything went all weird, and then I was here. Well, in Rose Hill. Back in our old house, and I was a baby again, and the paper said it's 2008.
So, what? You managed to home alone too yourself here?
Basically.
Does your mom know you're here? 'Cause I'm not getting accused of kidnapping again because you decided to come and hide with me after a fight.
Kinda. She thinks I ran away. But you can find me and she'll be so grateful, the kid grinned. It'll take me a couple more days of travelling to get here, of course.
Ollie!
Tony laughed at how different his two boys were from each other, even though they were only months apart in age.
What am I going to do with you?
Be my sorta kinda dad again? The kid grinned, made all the cuter by that missing tooth.
Of course, Bambino. You finally get to meet your brother.
The spider kid? The one I was supposed to meet this summer? Tony nodded.
The very same. He's here too.
From the future?
Yep. Got the whole family together now. Well, except your little sister, but I'm hoping we'll see her again someday.
Sister? Tony smiled, enjoying this odd moment where Harley let him hold him. The kid wasn't super affectionate as he got older, a stark contrast to Peter, who sometimes impersonated a koala.
Papa and I finally got married and had a girl, Morgan.
During the 5 years?
Yep.
Took you long enough.
Hush, you know me.
Emotionally constipated with commitment issues?
You know, big words like that out of a mouth that small are really adorable.
Tony grinned, earning himself a glare from the kid.
Ready to head to my place? We have to figure out how to make sure I don't get charged with kidnapping you, and maybe watch a movie.
Harley hopped down but let Tony take his hand. Heading for the office door, he grinned. Opening it, he came out. Pepper was standing there, but grinned when she saw who was with Tony. Harley? Hey, Pepper! I hear you finally got him to the altar. I did. When we do it again, I can't wait for you to be there. Harley grinned. I look forward to it. Someone has to make sure he doesn't chicken out again.
Potato!
Mechanic! Happy led them to the back entrance, mostly hiding Harley from employees and, more importantly, Stain. Getting in the car, the group settled in for the drive back to the mansion. It's so warm! And the ocean is like right there! New York was cool, but look at the palm trees! Harley's face was pressed against the windows, taking in the sights around him.
I'm probably moving back to New York in the next year or so. It's closer to you and Peter.
He turned to Pepper.
We need a cover story for like this. Unlike Peter, his mom doesn't remember, it seems. And I don't want to not be in his life this time around.
You're my dad. More than my dad ever was. She'll have to get over it. Harley didn't look at him. We'll figure it out. Pepper looked at the pair. But, Harley, we can't keep your mum in the dark about where you're at. It's not fair to her. But she'll make you send me home, and then ground me till I'm the age I'm supposed to be again.
Next time, How about you call instead of sneaking on a plane and flying across the country?
Tony was well aware he might have just invited the kid to pull a stunt like this in the future. He was also aware that the kid would do it anyway, so at least he had somewhere to land when he decided Rose Hill was too small for him. Unfortunately, having already lived through that once, it would happen a lot faster this time. Tony laid on the couch back in the mansion a couple of hours later, wondering how he got to be this lucky. On either side of him lay a boy, and both had fallen asleep as the movie played on the screen in front of him. He had an arm around both, and both were clinging to him. He'd dreamed about this for years after the first snap, seeing both of them. What it would be like for them to meet, having them meet Morgan. His hand found its way into Peter's hair, as it seemed to be doing a lot more since his return to the past, and he worked his way through the curls. Peter gave out a content hum in his sleep, and Tony grinned as he seemed to snuggle deeper into Tony's side. His boys. Both of them, together. Sure, Harley's situation was a bit of a mess, and he had to figure out how to return the kid without getting cut out of his life. Or explaining to his mother how the kid made it all the way to California, and why Tony Stark wasn't in a hurry to send him back. But they'd figure it out. They always did. Pepper came in and took a seat in an armchair nearby, and smiled at the sight. You waited a long time for this. He nodded.
I have. Both of them. Together. And they're so young. I get an extra 4 years with Harley, and even more with Peter. I missed so much, and they missed so much. If we have Morgan somewhere down the road, they'll be there for it. They'll get to meet her, and I'll have all my kids.
A tear slipped down his cheek, and Pepper came over and wiped it away. I'm glad the Stones gave you this. I know it's hard. It's different. But you're not alone.
You've got us. And for the record, I'm not answering to anything except Uncle Rhodey.
His best friend came in, finding a seat.
I drove the kid around. I get Uncle Dibs first.
Happy called out from the kitchen.
May will back me up on this. Where is May?
Tony hadn't seen either of the Parker adults in a bit. I sent her and Ben out to have a date night. From May's perspective, it's been a bit since they had time for just the two of them, and I thought it was needed. Pepper smiled, moving to the arm of the couch where Peter lay, brushing a stray curl out of his face. Her hand briefly brushed Tony's as it worked through Peter's hair, and the kid would never admit it, but he loved it. Maybe he would at this age. Maybe they both would. Tony was entering their lives at a much different time than he had before. They were younger. There was history, though not one they could really explain to outsiders. They'd claimed him, and he'd claimed them. He was fairly certain the two of them would claim each other as well. While there were a lot of differences, they were a lot alike too. He knew both of his boys lived lonely lives. Harley more so than Peter. Maybe this year he'd have a head start and could sweet-talk Rose into letting Harley stay with him during the school years and go to Midtown. It would push him a lot more than Rose Hill did.
Sir, there is a phone call from Rose Keener. Transfer it to my cell phone, Jay.
Tony's eyebrow raised as he pulled out his phone and answered it.
Hello?
Please, tell me he's with you.
Rose?
Tony! I don't know what's going on, but Harley's missing. And I have a feeling he's coming to you.
Relax, Rose. He's using my lap as a pillow right now. I was trying to figure out a way to explain it to you.
Because you thought I didn't remember? Tony's shoulders dropped in relief.
To be fair, it's a fair assumption.
What happened?
Long story short, world ended. I saved it, got sent back in time, and the entities that did so decided to send my whole family back too, and that includes you and the kids and another kid,
and one of his guardians. He heard a sigh of relief on the other end. It took me a long time to figure out that he might have gone west to find you.
It's not the first time he's done a run at it and come to me.
Tony grinned at the boring question.
I'll bring him back home at the end of the week. It's spring break if memory serves, and he usually spends them with me anyway. I've got his adoptive brother here too, and they were supposed to meet, but then...
Are you okay? He smiled.
I'm working on it. Not going to lie, I'm glad for the support system. Can't imagine being in this situation alone. Having the boys here, seeing them okay after everything that happened.
Harley stirred. Mechanic, you're too loud.
Your mum remembers, Potato.
The kid shot up, the sudden movement waking Peter, who let out a small whine. Tony played with his hair and he settled back down, but Harley didn't. What? He put the phone on speaker.
You're on speaker, Auntie can hear you.
You know you're grounded, right? Mom! You're not 16 anymore, Harley. You're 6. You can't run across the country to Tony without telling me. You really shouldn't be doing it at all until you're in your teenage years. And then we all know I won't be able to stop you. I needed to see him. Harley almost whispered, and Tony pulled him close.
Shh, I'm here. It's okay. We'll sort this all out. It's
a weird situation, Tony snorted.
Weird's one word for it.
Tony offered to let you stay for the week. Harley perked up. Can I? Please, Mum? There was a pause. I shouldn't reward your behaviour. Half the town is looking for you, you know. I'm just glad I finally thought to call Tony. I'm really sorry. I'd say I won't do something stupid like that again, but we all know that's a lie. Tony chuckled.
Why not drop him off? We can talk about things, Rose.
So I need to go buy the market out of coffee, is what you're saying? Papa snorted at that.
Don't either of you start.
Harley was laughing too, and Tony ruffled his hair, earning an indignant squawk which was more adorable coming from the 6-year-old version of the kid than it had been from the teenaged one. Call me every night, okay, Harley? Yes, Mum. Thank you, Tony.
Of course. Thanks for letting him stay a few days. After the week I've had, I could use his company.
I knew you loved me. Harley turned with a grin.
Hush you.
Bye, Harley. Bye, Mum.
Bye, Rose.
Tony hung up the phone and let out another sigh. He had not seen that coming. Honestly, he wondered if it was for a similar reason as to why May remembered. Peter and Harley were a part of Tony's support system, but they also needed their support systems for adjusting to this new time, their new ages, and how things would be different this time around. But Tony also needed May and Rose. He'd been co-parenting the two teenagers for years, and they had become part of his family. Abby too, Harley's little sister. Harley settled in next to him. She knows.
She does.
So I can see you.
Not if you do stupid stuff like this again. She'll ground you so long you'll be a teen again before I can see you.
Fair. You two are so loud. I'm sleeping, Peter groaned.
It's time to get up. I think we need to go see what we can cook up in the kitchen. Happy, Rhodey, are you just staying for supper or heading home?
The pair looked at each other.
We're staying.
Rhodey grinned.
I may have moved into the guest room for the duration of this assignment, so you're stuck with me. Oh, besides, I have 2 nephews to spoil.
Both boys blushed at that. Tony waved them into the kitchen and started making supper. The grown-ups helped him cook, but Harley seemed to be more entertained at making a game out of finding different things for Peter to stick to. Peter was having a ball alongside him as the items got more ridiculous. After a simple dinner of chicken and pasta, yes, Tony had gotten better in the kitchen, but he was by no means an expert, he noticed both boys starting to droop. They were both still on East Coast time, so it was a little bit later, and they were still so little.
Alright, I think it's time for bed. Holly, you can officially occupy the last bedroom I have. And let's all be glad I'm a billionaire who has a mansion to fit all of us in without it feeling cramped.
The two boys groaned, but Tony led them upstairs. Harley had a backpack with some items in it, but Tony had a feeling they'd have to make a clothing run at some point for a couple of items. Somehow the two ended up in Peter's room, so Tony could tell them a story.
There was once a princess whose big brothers had died before she was born. Unbeknownst to the realm, the brothers weren't dead, just merely gone. The king loved his little princess, but missed the two princes.
Mechanic, we may look 6, but we're not actually 6. I liked it, Peter grinned. You're talking about Morgan.
Your little sister. She was Peppa's kid, even though she looked like me. But she took after you two a bit. Courage, that adventurous spirit you both have, the ability to get into everything. I told her stories about you two all the time, to make sure she knew about her brothers who weren't there. And now I tell you stories about her. Maybe we'll get to see her again. She'll exist in a slightly different time.
Because you won't be a chicken and ask Miss Potts sooner? Harley's innocent face was contradicted by the sass in the statement in a way that was a typical Harley Keener and warmed Tony's heart. He's not wrong, Dad. I mean, it took me surprising you to get that proposal.
What?
Peter grinned. I turned him down for a spot on the Avengers. Why would you do something so stupid?
I thought we were settling down.
Tony eyed the two boys. Both settled into his sides. I thought I wanted it, but I was barely 15 at the time, and I wasn't ready for that. I wanted to stay low to the ground, but then Dad inducted me the day everything fell apart. Both grew silent, remembering the doomed flight to Titan. So, how did you saying no finally help Mechanic here grow a pair and ask Peppa? I told him no after he already filled a room with the press for a conference to announce me as the newest Avenger. With no announcement, he improvised. You proposed at that press conference? I thought that was just for show. We need to discuss your methods here.
She said yes.
Eventually, Peter grinned.
I'm trying to remember why I wanted you two to meet.
Because you love us. Harley's voice was starting to develop a sleepy haze.
That I do.
Tony shut his eyes, enjoying the warmth of the two boys on either side of him. It was late when May and Ben returned from their night out. From May's perspective, it had been years since she'd had a night out with Ben. From his, it had been a few months, not since Peter had moved in. They hadn't been comfortable leaving Peter just yet.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Parker. I hope your evening was enjoyable.
Jarvis's voice rang out. May smiled, used to Stark's AIs even if she wasn't used to this particular version. May swore that Friday sometimes was the responsible adult in the room when Peter and Tony got involved in a project. It was, Jarvis. Thank you. Is Peter asleep or did he wake up?
He and Sir are upstairs, sleeping.
Thank you. May turned to the kitchen. Let me go check on him, for my own peace of mind. And then maybe we can watch a movie before bed. Ben nodded.
I'd like that.
May headed upstairs, a silly smile on her face. It was hard at times to have Ben here at her side. He was her Ben, but at the same time he wasn't. He was missing almost a decade of experience. But he was alive, and she wanted to figure out how to bridge the gap between where she had been in their marriage, when they had died, and where Ben was now. He didn't understand completely. At least, not yet. He didn't understand being the guardian of a hero. The waiting up. The worry. He didn't understand the relationship she had with a certain genius billionaire as they navigated co-parenting an enhanced teenager. Ben didn't get the wine nights where Peppa came and they drank wine and watched old movies, and grumbled about stupid genius heroes who did stupid things. Shaking her head, she made her way up to the room Tony had given Peter. She saw the door was still open and peeked in. Laying in the bed in a pile were Tony, Harley and Peter. Tony had his arms wrapped around both boys. Peter was curled up against him, a hand placed over the glowing arc reactor on Tony's chest. Harley was curled up as well. All three were sleeping soundly, and May sincerely hoped they would keep each other's nightmares away. That was an area where they couldn't help as much as Tony could, and she was so grateful that someone could be there for Peter when it got to be too much. A figure moved in the hallway, and she turned to see Pepper walking up. "Have you seen Tony since you got back? I've been looking for him." May nodded inside the bedroom, and Pepper stuck her head inside and smiled. "I'm glad he has them. And I'm glad you and Rose remember, so that you know how important they are to each other. The trick is explaining it to Ben. He's trying, he really is, but it's hard. If we can help, let me know." "Thanks, Pepper." May hugged her friend. "I just wish there was more Ben and I could do." They walked down the hall and away from the open door so that they wouldn't wake the sleeping boys. "You're doing a lot by being here. By bringing Peter straight here when you realized what had happened." After Berlin, and especially after Siberia, Tony didn't have a lot of people he called family. But he considers you family. Trust me, he'd spoil you guys rotten if you'd let him. When we get the tower built in New York, he's already planning a floor for you guys. I told him no when he asked last week at brunch." Pepper laughed. "He sulked all week over that. Did you know that Peter had a room at the lake house where we lived after we got married? And then there was a guest room for people like you and Rhodey." "But I wasn't there." "You weren't." Pepper paused at the top of the stairs. "But still, he told Morgan stories about her Aunt May, one of the two women Iron Man feared." May laughed as they made their way down the stairs. "We should get shirts made." Pepper laughed. "He'd hate it." "That makes it better." "It would be payback for some of the things he's bought over the years, like the giant stuffed rabbit. Ironically, he gave that to me the day he got his house blown up."
"Oh, I remember Peter telling me about that. I also remember not being able to tear Peter away from the TV. He was hysterical when he thought Tony was dead. He had me take him to church and light a candle for him. He'd be mortified if I told Tony." They walked into the kitchen where Ben was making tea. "Miss Potts." "Thanks for the recommendation for dinner, Miss Potts." "Ben, it's Pepper. It was my pleasure." "Peter all right, May?" "Sound asleep." She grinned at Pepper. "There's still water in the kettle if you'd like to make some tea, Pepper." Ben handed May a mug, which she took with a smile. "Thank you, Ben. I'm going to duck into the office and do some paperwork before bed. Make yourselves at home here." With that, she headed into the living room where her husband was waiting to watch a movie with her. There were lots of things about this time travel chaos that she didn't understand. But as she settled into the couch and felt Ben's arm fall around her, and she snuggled into his side, she couldn't help but feel grateful. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Oh boy, I loved that one. Harley being the sassy, sweet but snarky kid. Oh, I love it. I can't wait to see more of his and Peter's interactions. Oh, that was lovely. And Rose basically saying, "You're grounded, you know." I tried to make her voice slightly higher. I've got quite a few deep voices going on in here, and I'm going to have more, so have to have the high voices where I can get them. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care guys. Love you. Bye.